It's time for an in depth review of my favorite book from the past week. Welcome to the Sunday Best. Our very first Sunday Best goes to The Match by Sarah Adams. Sarah has an extensive catalog of books, including the Dalton Family series, the It Happened in Charleston duology, the It Happened in Nashville duology, the When in Rome series, which has another book coming out in January, and the Cheat Sheet duology. The Match is the third book by Sarah Adams that I've read, and it's the first in the It Happened in Charleston duology. I've enjoyed all three of her books, giving them 4 and 5 stars, but this one I think is by far my favorite. It includes a single dad, an age gap relationship, chronic illness representation, it includes service dogs, and it has a dual point of view. There is a little bit of a miscommunication and assumption in the third act, but it's resolved quickly, so I forgave it. Sarah is a self proclaimed advocate and champion for closed door romance, and while there might not be spice on the page, the chemistry between our couple is unmistakable. Let's jump in and take a look at our main characters. Starting off with Evie. Evie grew up without having a say in her decisions with an overbearing and unkind mother, and she has moved out on her own and has taken back her life. She lives with a chronic illness that feels like a villain looming in a horror story, poised to strike at any moment. Her resilient nature was such a breath of fresh air. While she might not have more than $100 in her bank account and a matchbook for an apartment, she was always happy, making the best out of her situation, and was never ever a damsel in distress. She was a great example of an independent woman who was okay with accepting help when she needed it. Okay, let's talk about Jacob. When we first meet him, he comes across as a way overprotective dad who is cynical for no reason. But we learn that he's working from a place of not wanting to be hurt again and complete physical exhaustion. After his divorce, Jake has been on constant guard to protect his 10-year-old daughter, Samantha. Now he's got an even bigger job as she's just received an epilepsy diagnosis. While Jake may be overprotective with Sam, his protective nature does flow into his relationship with Evie in a very sweet way. It's never overbearing or anything other than just a supportive partner who wants to make sure that his girl is well taken care of. Let's talk about the classic dichotomy that their families represent. Jake's family was the loving, we're so happy you're here, hugs and kisses, bring you into the fold immediately example. That, of course, means Evie's parents are the exact opposite. They're cold, calculating, controlling, pretentious, snooty, and they're always trying to do what's best for them, never what's best for Evie. Her parents are approaching being the villains of the story, and they're quickly followed by Tyler, who's the gold standard for toxic masculinity, and Natalie, the fame hungry ex wife absentee mother. Let's talk about two of the minor characters that made a huge difference in the story, Sam and Joanna. We'll start with Sam. All I can say is thank goodness this girl wants a service dog. Because Evie can understand what Sam is going through, unlike anybody else, they have an immediate bond and they share a deep level of trust. Jake knows that Evie has Sam's best interest in heart and feels safe bringing her in and accepting her advice on the emotional roller coaster that is raising a young daughter. Sam and Evie's relationship develops into something so sweet. In the epilogue, especially, I was a blubbering mess. Joanna is 100% the cool aunt that we all wish we had. Evie and Joe's relationship is one of the most non traditional best friend representations I've ever read. They're not childhood best friends, they're not college roommates. In fact, they met because of Evie's epilepsy. Joe was Evie's only go to for so long that she's filled the role of mentor, co worker, best friend, and their relationship has grown into a trusting, loving bond. And now they both fill that missing role of mother and daughter in each other's lives. We know that Evie's chosen Joe as her emergency contact. I think it's safe to say that they've moved into the found family category. Also, without Joe, Evie would have never met the love of her life. And I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't talk to you about Charlie. Charlie is Evie's service dog, and he's given her the freedom to live a normal life away from her parents. He's her support before she meets Jake and her steadfast security. Anytime I get to read a book with a dog, count me in. The Match is about finding love where you least expect it. Evie has to be a little less independent but finds security in Jake. Jake has to be a little less overprotective and more trusting, and he finds that strength and courage in Evie. They each have baggage they have to put aside to allow the other person fully into their lives. Their shared unique situation, coupled with the trust and vulnerability they had to show each other early on, build a foundation that allowed for an unrushed transition between acquaintances, friends, and a relationship. Sarah has written two relatable characters that feel like they could be your best friends telling you about how they met. Jake and Evie's story had me swooning from the beginning, and I would recommend any Sarah Adams book if you're looking for a sweet, easy romance. I enjoyed The Match so much. I'm so glad that it got to be our first Sunday best. If you've read The Match, congratulations on reading a great book. And if not, I hope your TBR is officially one book longer. Thanks for joining me for the Sunday best. Happy reading.